Hey guys, welcome back to Johnny the Strength Coach channel. What I'd like you to do before we even get started is press that subscribe button, like and share this video. I know you're going to like it in advance, but if you don't, remember to subscribe at the end of the video and of course share this with your friends because we need to get this debate out there as much as possible. So, bulking or cutting, which one is the choice for you? Hey guys, I'm Johnny the Strength Coach yet again. I wanted to go over with you today about cutting or bulking. What is the best thing to do, cutting or bulking? Well, this is entirely subjective because you could be cutting, bulking or in a calorie maintenance range depending on your current body fat percentage, whether it's to do with your athleticism, whether you're to do to get stronger, whether you're doing it for bodybuilding. So, and all of these have their own ranges of calorie deficit or bulking. What is the best way to do? So, we'll start with the easiest one, the one which is more to do with aesthetics, and aesthetics being bodybuilding type training. So, when do you cut and when do you bulk? And when do you stay in maintenance? Generally, you don't really necessarily have to bulk to gain muscle mass, but if, let's say, you want to get muscle mass quicker, you do want to be in a slight calorie surplus. And that doesn't mean dirty bulking for all you people out there who eat your cheeseburgers and cakes to be in your calorie surplus with 3,000 extra calories a day. What's going to happen there if you do that? You are just going to put on fat mass and very incremental small amounts of muscle mass. Now, for some of you, you may put on more muscle mass. Some of you may put on less. It entirely depends on your genetics, and it also depends on what nutrients you're putting in your body. So if you have good quality nutrients, that's good quality pure proteins, that's good quality pure carbohydrates and fats and micronutrients as well, then of course your body composition is going to be really good. And of course, as you're massing up, you will actually mostly gain muscle mass. So being in a calorie surplus of 200 to, let's say, 500 calories is all you need. It's enough to actually build good, clean muscle, if there is such a word as good, clean muscle. I just made that up on the spot, but good, muscle mass, building up your muscle mass over time, providing that the resistance training that you're doing is actually good. So you need a certain amount of resistance. Higher volume tends to be best when gaining muscle mass, just because the muscles tend to get a good stimulation from higher volume training. However, that doesn't mean you can't gain muscle mass from lower volume training such as 5x5s, etc. Work with how your body gains muscle. If you're not sure, drop me a comment in the section below. I can give me an overall view of what your training is and what style you're doing, and then we can have a look into it. Of course, if you don't want to do it there and you want to private message me, go to my Johnny the Strength Coach channel on my Facebook or Instagram. In the comments below, in the description below, my links are, and you can private message me. Anyway, moving on. So when do we bulk in a bodybuilding environment? So you've got to look at your body fat percentage. That's the main indicator as to whether you should be gaining or losing weight. Particularly, I'm talking about body fat. So let's say, for instance, we'll just say we're all beginners. We're not intermediates. We're not advanced at all. Let's just say we're all beginners. Look at your fat mass. Look at your body fat overall percentage. There's many different ways you can do body fat percentages, but one of them, of course, is like a DEXA scan or calipers or an electronic machine that you can find at the gym. Just find a general body fat percentage calculator and you can be on your way. If you are under 16%, then I would recommend bulking, because if you're under a certain body fat percentage already, you clearly are fairly lean and you've obviously looked after your body quite well, or you're just underweight, which I'm not saying that you're necessarily healthy in that range, but you want to be, if you want to put on lean mass, you want to be really bulking if you're doing it for bodybuilding. So providing you keep your body fat percentage around 16% or below is perfect. That way you're going to put on lean muscle mass in that calorie surplus, of course, and that's going to produce better muscle mass. And as you lean back down, let's say 2-3% body fat, most of that will be muscle mass that you've put on. So your weight will go up, but your body composition will actually be better. You know, you should be leaner, but also have more muscle mass. However, on the other spectrum, where you should be cutting or losing body fat, is when your body fat is above 16%. Now, if it is around 16% or more, just a little bit, perhaps you can stay in maintenance range, not lose any muscle mass, and not put on any fat. And when I mean maintenance range, I mean the calorie range that is good for your body to maintain its current weight, current body fat, current muscle mass, but then you can add slightly to that muscle mass without reducing necessarily any body fat. Over time, your maintenance range may change, and then you can actually start producing more muscle mass and losing fat. So you don't necessarily have to be bulking to gain muscle, but one of the best ways to do it is to be in a slight calorie surplus, like I said before. But if you are cutting in, let's say, your 25% body fat, you know, you like that skinny fat stage, or you've even got a good amount of muscle as a prerequisite from some sports you've done in the past, or you know, bodybuilding in the past that you've done, then you really want to reduce your fat mass down to less than 16%. That way, when you do start weight training, etc., and that resistance is good, all your cuts are going to start coming through. Your chest is going to be more defined, your abs are going to be more defined, your shoulders, your biceps. You're going to see all those striations that you don't necessarily see when your body fat's quite high. So, they're the two. Bulking, small calorie surplus, make sure that all your nutrients, all your proteins, etc. are good. And also when cutting, it's the same. You want to make sure all your nutrients are good. 200 to 500 calorie deficit, or 200 to 500 calorie surplus. That way you're always going to be in a good range to gradually put on weight, and I'm talking muscle mass here, not weight, and lowering your body fat to show those lean cuts. Anyway, that's bodybuilding. Next, if you're trying to get stronger, I would recommend not to get into a calorie deficit due to the fact when you get into a calorie deficit, you are below your maintenance range. Maintenance range being maintaining your current muscle mass, also maintaining, you know, your organs and your brain, etc. You know, just basically maintaining current status of your body, everything like such as skin. This will be a good range. A maintenance range will be a good range to either put on strength or be in a calorie surplus. But if you're in a calorie deficit, I unfortunately would have to say that you're probably not going to put on much strength, if any at all. It will have diminishing returns over time, because the more maximal weight or load you put on when you're in a calorie deficit, the more stress it's going to put on the body, and eventually it kind of make you ill or put on injuries. And of course, if you're constantly in a cycle of being ill, in and out, or just being really, really fatigued all the time due to the calorie deficit, you're not going to put on any strength or size for that matter. So I would recommend being very cautious when you're trying to put on strength, as to not be in a calorie deficit. Okay, moving on to the third topic, athleticism. So sports. What is your sport and what is the purpose of your sport? For instance, if it's strongman, if it's Olympic training such as barbell work, or, you know, being a gymnast, for instance, you might want to be at least in a calorie maintenance and not necessarily bulking. You can bulk slightly, of course, in order to bring up the muscle mass. You don't necessarily have to eat thousands of calories above your maintenance level, because over time, if you do that, what it's going to do is it's just going to produce more fat mass, and it's going to be having, yet again, diminishing returns, because over a period of time you're going to feel clunky, you're going to feel lethargic, and it actually requires a lot of energy to burn off those calories. So even though you're eating more, it takes a long time for your gut and everything to process and digest the food, and it burns up a lot of energy too. So you're going to be in this constant state of kind of like being lethargic and just not necessarily performing at your best, unless of course your body is able to cope with that. So some people can cope with high calorie surpluses with high carbs. Some people are more carbohydrate sensitive, so you've got to be careful with the type of food you eat. But my recommendation, yet again, being in a 500 calorie surplus, and also of course maintaining good foods, nothing processed, you know, try and avoid sugar as much as possible, and try and do it purely for your athleticism. However, on the other end of the spectrum, if you're trying to be a swimmer or a basketball player or a sprinter, you know, you do also want to look at being in a calorie maintenance, but maybe you could be in a slightly calorie deficit. A good example is a boxer or a mixed martial arts fighter. They have to cut weight in order to hit their weight classes. So of course what you want to do is eat clean foods, and I don't mean, you know, fairy liquid. I'm talking about your veggies, your meats, your lentils, your beans if you're vegan, and of course clean cuts of carbohydrates such as, you know, pure whole grain rice and sweet potatoes, stuff like that. That is going to produce the best results for cutting weight, but also maintaining your performance. Now, performance is a really big thing in all categories. You want to be able to perform at the top level. If you're not performing, you're not going to be getting the results you want, regardless whether it's bodybuilding, strongman, whatever. If you feel lethargic, you feel tired, maybe if you're in a calorie deficit, you want to just slightly up those calories or slightly up the protein content to try and hold into your muscle mass. Or if you're in a calorie surplus and you feel lethargic, tired, you might just want to reduce those calories slightly. So that's my takeaway point for today. If you do have any further questions, like I say, drop a comment in the section below. Remember to like, share and subscribe this video once again. I'm looking forward to all your comments. I'm looking forward to you guys interacting with me and letting me know how you're getting on with your cutting or your bulking. So I'll see you in that next one, guys.